Well, also developing tonight, reports nuclear talks between Iran and the United States are getting ugly. So much so that the Ayatollah himself has told his lead negotiator to stop yelling at Secretary of State John Kerry. Today, the State Department was asked if the shouting reports are true and if Secretary Kerry yells back. James Rosen is our chief Washington correspondent. James?
Megan, good evening. These reports of voices raised at the long-running nuclear negotiations between the U.S., Iran, and 5 other world powers being conducted in the otherwise sedate setting of Geneva, Switzerland, first started surfacing in November. That's when we first heard that Dr. Javad Zarif, the Iranian foreign minister and Tehran's lead nuclear negotiator, had been shouting at Secretary Kerry during the P5+1 talks that are aimed at reining in the Islamic regime's renegade nuclear program. Published reports suggested the screaming had reached decibel levels so loud that bodyguards nervously entered the negotiating room. And the European Union's foreign policy chief at that time, Lady Catherine Ashton, had, quote, gotten used to it. Now, even Iran's state-controlled news agency is reporting that Zarif has been summoned by the Ayatollah Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, and was told, quote, why are you yelling in negotiations? Smile and speak. Do not quarrel, the Ayatollah instructed. Reason with them. That account, of course, omits that Khamenei himself has already set forth non-negotiable demands for how many centrifuges Iran must be allowed to keep, demands that are roughly 20 times the regime's current capabilities. At today's State Department press briefing, Secretary Kerry's spokesperson, Jen Psaki, soon to take over as communications director at the White House, was asked about these reports of Foreign Minister Zarif rocking the Casbah, so to speak.
I'm certainly not going to confirm or speak to the tone of any other foreign minister in a meeting. I will convey that these are difficult issues. There have been tough conversations, and the Secretary has also made clear points when we have limitations, when we can't go farther. And we certainly expect, as these continue, that as the issues get more difficult, that part will be part of it as well.
Asked if Secretary Kerry shouts back, Psaki chuckled and said, to be a fly in the room. Megan.
You know, it's how rude do you have to be to get the Ayatollah, who wants all Israelis to be killed, to yell at you? I mean, to offend his sensibilities. And John Kerry is so sweet. Remember what he did in Paris after we didn't show up for that solidarity march, and he brought over James Taylor. Remember, let's just reminisce for 1 minute.
Right in, even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know.
And you know, if you could see the audience shot there, James, what you would see is the Ayatollah. He was actually there in the audience with a lighter, like standing up. And
my thought about that, Megan, was that the Parisians at that sensitive time might have been more comforted by a more contemporary performer like Beyonce or Gordon Lightfoot.
I think what the Ayatollah, well, maybe not the Ayatollah, but maybe the negotiator didn't understand is that Kerry, you know, he's a lover, not a fighter. And Jen Psaki told me that herself. Who could forget this? Stand by. Is Secretary Kerry just a hugger?
He is a hugger. I don't think that's a bad thing, Megan. But
apparently the French think it is, but that's the French. You know, Iran is mean.
He is a hugger, by the way. When I first started traveling with Kerry about 2 years ago, he was a scruncher of shoulders like a kindly uncle. He would, when I did my first interview with him, he hugged me like bros, like, hey, wow, like fraternity brothers.
More so than Biden?
Well, Count Biden has not gone for me, I'm grateful to say.
And I'll just remain silent on that subject since we're on TV. Great to see you, James Rosen.
Likewise.
Well, it has been 72 hours since a federal judge blocked